and I thought I would get Timothy F. Ball on. He's a Ph.D., retired university professor and global warming skeptic. He heads the Natural Resources Stewardship Project and formerly headed the activist organization Friends of Science, which was funded by energy companies. That's what we see here out of the good old folks at Wikipedia. And the Rockefellers are trying to basically fire Rex Tillerson of ExxonMobil because he won't join along. Hey, I'm not funded by ExxonMobil. Let me just tell you something. I know carbon dioxide is what plants breathe. I know it's been 14 times higher in the last 200,000 years. I know that it makes more oxygen that we breathe. And they've got a new environmental group today that says cut down trees that they're creating CO2, which they do exhale CO2 as well as oxygen. They're now saying kill the trees. These people at the low level are cult members. At the highest level is because they want a global tax that is stated. We sued and got the SPP documents last year from the Banff, Canada 2006 North American Union meeting, and it said it's a fraud, but that they want to use it as a way to tax us. And he has an amazing background. He's called the Water Man. He's an expert on global water, an expert on what's really happening with CO2. Thank you for coming on, Professor Timothy F. Ball.
Well, thanks kindly for the opportunity. And just a little comment. Shakespeare said even the devil can use the scriptures in his arguments.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the Bible says he poses as an angel of light. You just heard my rant. I've never talked to you before. I did hear you on Coast to Coast AM. What's your take? I mean, first off, boil it down. Why are they pushing a global warming scam? What's the truth? What's the real science? And then let's get into water. And is it really scarce like they're trying to fearmonger now?
Okay, in some areas the water is short, but they're usually self-inflicted wounds. For example, municipalities using water as a loss leader to attract industry and not really taking into account the cost of delivery and dealing with the sewage waste. So there are some small areas, but overall it's not a problem, not one that the technology isn't available to resolve. But with regard to the climate change issue, Alex, you mentioned the Limits to Growth Club of Rome and so on, and of course out of that era came a guy by the name of Maurice Strong. And Maurice Strong said that the problem for the planet are the industrialized nations, and isn't our responsibility to get rid of them. And I want the listeners to think about how would you go about shutting down an industrialized nation. If you think about the nation like an engine, you can squeeze the fuel line, which will stop the engine. But if you did that, there'd be immediate reaction, and all you got to do is look at the gas prices going up and the reaction to that. But you can achieve the same thing by plugging the exhaust. If you plug up the exhaust of a car, it'll stop. And if you can show that the exhaust of the industrialized nations is killing the planet, then you effectively can shut that down.
And you can tax it, you can regulate it, you can say how big your house is, and they state it's a fraud. They know it's a fraud. Please continue, but I wanted to use one example here. If you give people the scientific name of water, dihydrogen monoxide, 99% of people on the street, and I've done this, and I've seen it done on television, you walk up and say, did you hear about the dihydrogen monoxide problem? Or did you hear about the spill? Or just say, should we ban it? They'll say, absolutely. It's water, folks, and that's as asinine as saying that carbon dioxide is a toxic waste. When am I correct in saying it is the main life gas? Because oxygen came later on this planet, correct?
Well, that's right. Without the plants, you have no oxygen, and the plants need the CO2 to survive. And of course, at 385 parts per million, which is the current level, that's the lowest level in the 6 billion year history of the Earth.
Exactly. The Earth is starved for carbon dioxide, and there's studies on desertification. We need more. We should have factories making it.
Well, in fact, it is being used commercially. That in greenhouses, they're pumping in up to 1,000 and 1,200 parts per million and achieving 4 times the yield. And what this indicates is that plants, which evolved over the last 300 million years, when the average atmospheric level was between 1,000 and 1,200 parts per million, that's the level that they function best at. So at 385, they're essentially malnourished. And of course, Al Gore and the gang want to reduce that level even more. And at 250 parts per million, the plants start to die.
Now I want to stop you.
You got no plants, you got no oxygen, you got no life on the planet.
I want to stop you. Now, they can claim that we're all paid by the Keebler elves to say this. Folks, you don't need to believe us. Oxygen, carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight are the 4 ingredients that you have to have for life. It has been, now I'm going for the mainline science, you're the expert, Professor, but I've read all the studies. 14 times higher carbon dioxide. Plants live longer, grow faster, healthier, than they put out more oxygen. They've done studies showing that animals, mammals, insects, we want more oxygen. I want more oxygen. I don't want these control freaks taxing my air and claiming that life-giving gas is devil poison.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And of course, you go to the football game, and what are those players sitting on the sideline but getting extra oxygen so they can perform better? And by the way, one of the things that the greenhouse and also research, people like Sherwood Idso, all the different plants they've studied, they also use less water when the CO2 levels are higher. Because
have you seen the studies about how? Have you seen the studies about how? And now they're proving this with the core samples and things they've done with the robots, the rovers, that Mars lost its atmosphere with the same thing that's happening here. I guess these bastards want us to lose our atmosphere.
Well, it certainly appears that way, and I guess, one of the things that underlies so much of this is that there's a very deep anti-humanism in the whole environmental movement. If we could just get the people off the planet, it would be a great place to live. And you see this little things trickle out every once in a while. For example, the Greenpeace report on global warming, they said that CO2 is added to the atmosphere naturally and unnaturally. And you say, well, what do you mean by unnatural? Well, of course, what they mean is humans. And say, well, if what we're doing is unnatural, then that makes us unnatural. And so you see this very deep-seated anti-humanism in all of this.
Are you kidding, sir? I've been to the meetings where every professor there walks around saying everyone needs to die, and I have their graduate papers from their students saying all humans must be killed. I mean, this is a vicious cult, and they all work and have access to bioweapons labs.
Well, and of course, that's at the very basic level, but at the intervening level, of course, the idea is to take control of the economy and take control of everything. I mean, if you look at what Al Gore is doing, where he's going out and telling you, CO2 is a pollutant, it's a problem, we got to get rid of it, we got to reduce it. Oh, and by the way, one of the ways we can do it is carbon credits, which is absolute rubbish, doesn't reduce them at all. He then turns around and sets up a company and makes money off of it. Now, I don't know how you look at that, but it appears that might sound like fraud.
Well, exactly. I'm waiting for him to say dihydrogen monoxide.
Yeah. Yeah, there's two things about that, by the way, and it is a wonderful exercise. It plays on two things that these people exploit. One is people's fear. We have natural fears of certain things, and they're exploiting that. Oh, the sky's going to fall, the world's going to come to an end, and then the emotional words that get in there. Oh, the children are going to die. There's going to be no future, the planet, the grandchildren, and so on. So, and Michael Crichton wrote about that superbly, how they do that in his book, State of Fear. But the other thing that they're exploiting is lack of knowledge. So you can throw out that scientific definition of water, but because people don't know it, then they automatically assume, well, because of the way you're doing it, the way you're phrasing the question, this must be something deadly. And it's the lack of knowledge that these people are exploiting. And again,
hold on, Doc. Hold on for a minute, because since you mentioned that, it's actually known as the dihydrogen monoxide hoax. Again, that's water, ladies and gentlemen. The dihydrogen monoxide hoax involves listing negative effects of water under unfamiliar scientific names, then asking individuals to help control the seemingly dangerous substance caused by most people, known to the world as monoxide, as part of the name of the poisonous gas. The hoax is designed to illustrate how the lack of scientific knowledge knowledge and the exaggerated analysis can lead to misplaced fears. Dihydrogen monoxide, shortened to DHMO, is a scientific name for water that, while technically correct, is almost never employed. Now, this is a Wikipedia propaganda piece that I just noticed. This wasn't here yesterday. I just clicked on this from Wikipedia, and suddenly they changed it, I guess, to counter me, as I did a show about it yesterday. But no, it's not using it. It's not twisting it. You can go out and say, should we ban dihydrogen monoxide? And most people will say yes, okay, without even listing bad effects. So see, they're very upset that we're showing their fraud now. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, and of course, I said it is that exploitation of lack of knowledge, but just to look at the CO2 thing for a second. First of all, the idea is out there that it's the most important greenhouse gas. It isn't. Water vapor is by far the most important greenhouse gas. CO2 is less than 4%. But the basic assumption they make in their theory is that, if CO2 traps heat, so if CO2 in the atmosphere increases, and it will because humans are producing more, then the temperature will increase. That's fundamental to their theory. The problem is the evidence shows exactly the opposite.